In the heart of Silicon Valley, Mike Thompson sat in his corner office, surrounded by accolades and sleek furniture. The view of the city skyline usually filled him with pride, but today it felt hollow. He stared at the employee satisfaction report on his desk, his brow furrowed with concern. How had things gone so wrong? Without him noticing, a staggering 15% drop in employee satisfaction for the third consecutive month at one of his offices in Virginia was alarming. Complaints of toxic culture, favoritism, and potential discrimination flooded in. These red flags prompted TechVision CEO Mike Thompson to take drastic action. Determined to uncover the truth, Mike decided to go undercover as a receptionist. It was a risky move. If discovered, it could lead to a public relations disaster and erode trust within the company. But as he donned the standard-issue uniform and adjusted his fake mustache, a spark of hope ignited within him. This was his chance to see his company through the eyes of his employees. Walking into the building he once ruled from the top floor, Mike felt an odd mix of anticipation and fear. Today, he was a mere outsider, invisible and unremarkable, just another face in the crowd. The way of the telephone and the continuous tasks of answering calls and greeting visitors felt foreign to him. As he looked at his reflection in the lobby's glass doors, he saw not the confident CEO, but a man who appeared unsure and out of place. His first task was to manage the busy front desk. As he handled phone calls and dealt with visitors, he overheard two senior managers chatting nearby. "Did you see the latest email about the new efficiency measures?" one asked. "Yeah, just what we needed, more work for less pay. The customer service team is already overworked." The casual disregard for employee concerns hit Mike like a physical blow. Had he in any way supported this kind of attitude? As the day progressed, Mike struggled with tasks he had always taken for granted. The switchboard seemed to have a mind of its own, and he struggled to keep up with the flow of visitors. But it wasn't just the physical challenges that weighed on him. It was the emotional toll of realizing how unconcerned management had become. In the break room, as he refilled coffee mugs, he overheard his management team discussing the state of the company. Their conversation was filled with frustration and a dismissive attitude toward lower-level employees. One of them even insulted the customer service team, throwing in a few curse words for good measure. Mike felt a surge of shame and anger. These were the people he had trusted with his vision, expecting them to lead with integrity and empathy. That'd be why the end of his shift, Mike found an unexpected ally in Doris, a seasoned receptionist who patiently showed him the ropes. During their break, she shared a knowing smile and said, "It's just a job, but don't expect anyone up there to notice us." To them, we're invisible. Her words hit Mike like a gut punch. He had always prided himself on running a company where every employee felt valued, but Doris's blunt observation painted a very different picture. The next day, Mike continued his undercover role. He hoped for a different experience, but the busy office environment was a stark contrast to his usual executive suite. Among the faces he recognized was Linda, a key member of the Virginia management team. Initially praised for her efficiency and no-nonsense approach, Mike began to notice a disturbing pattern in Linda's behavior. Her interactions with lower-level employees were harsh, filled with insults and an air of superiority that made Mike uncomfortable. The turning point came when Linda marched up to Mike, her eyes sweeping over the front desk. "Is this seriously how you're handling things?" she said, annoyance dripping from her voice. "I've never seen such a disaster at the front desk. Papers everywhere, phones ringing off the hook, and you can't even answer them on time. No wonder this place is falling apart. It's because you people can't even do the basics right." "You people?" Mike thought, feeling a wave of anger wash over him. He had always believed in building a respectful work culture, but here was one of his senior managers tearing into him over his receptionist duties. As Linda turned and walked away, Mike stood in disbelief, his heart clenched. Nearby, Henry, a kind-hearted IT worker, exchanged a look with a colleague and said, "Don't think too much about it. That's just how she acts." The weight of Henry's words hit Mike like a physical blow. Not only was Linda's behavior unacceptable, but was also a regular occurrence. Throughout the rest of the day, Mike became acutely aware of the interactions around him. He noticed how some employees seemed to shrink into themselves when Linda approached, while others adopted a defensive stance. The atmosphere of fear and resentment was palpable. Mike couldn't help but wonder how his team had missed these signs for so long. As he observed Linda's interactions with other department heads, he began to see a pattern emerge. She presented a polished professional image to those she deemed important, but treated those she saw as beneath her with blatant disrespect. This two-faced behavior was damaging not only to employee morale, but also to the overall productivity and success of the company. The stark contrast between Linda's public persona and her true nature left Mike with a sense of betrayal that, as the day ended, Mike couldn't stop thinking about what he had seen. The problems in this office were bigger than he had realized. It wasn't just one manager's bad behavior. It was a deep-seated issue that had grown under his watch. But during his undercover role, he discovered something surprising. TechVision's greatest assets were hiding in plain sight. The busy office floor was full of employees working hard, their faces showing both determination and stress. From his new spot at the reception desk, Mike began to notice patterns he had missed before. Two employees stood out, Angela, a senior accountant, and Henry from the IT department. At first, they seemed ordinary, just another part of the team, but as Mike observed them, he saw something extraordinary in their daily actions. Angela was often first to arrive and the last to leave. Her dedication was clear as she focused intensely on financial reports. One evening, as the office cleared out and the cleaning staff began their rounds, Mike overheard a conversation that struck him. "Angela, you're still here?" a colleague asked, surprised. Angela looked up and explained that she was just finishing quarterly reports. They need to be perfect for the board meeting tomorrow. But it was her daughter's recital tonight, and a look of pain crossed Angela's face as she said she would make it up to her this weekend. Mike felt a pang of guilt. He had no idea of the sacrifices his low-level employees were making. Henry, on the other hand, was a source of positivity in a stressful environment. Mike saw him move from desk to desk, solving technical issues with a patient smile. One day, he witnessed a touching scene. A new intern was struggling with a broken computer, tears of frustration in her eyes. Henry approached her gently and said they would figure it out together. For the next hour, Henry stayed with her, not only fixing the problem, but also teaching the intern basic troubleshooting skills. His kindness was evident in every interaction. As the days passed, Mike saw Angela and Henry as more than just employees. They were hidden pillars of TechVision, embodying the hard work, dedication, and compassion he wanted his company. With this realization came a troubling thought. Why hadn't the team noticed their great qualities before? Mike saw that the problem lay within the company's structure he had created and the fact that he had been less involved one afternoon. Mike overheard Angela talking to a coworker. "I've been passed over for promotion 3 times now," she said, sounding frustrated. "I work really hard, but it feels like you're invisible unless you're in the right social circle." Her words hit Mike hard. He had always believed that hard work should be rewarded. But maybe TechVision's culture was preventing its best employees from getting ahead. Henry's situation was different but just as concerning. Despite his expertise and valuable people skills, he remained in a junior role, his potential untapped. Mike continued his undercover work for a week, and by the end he faced a deep realization. TechVision was filled with hidden talents like Angela and Henry, employees whose skills and dedication far exceeded their current roles. The amount of potential within his company was staggering. Now, Mike had to tackle a new challenge: how to create a culture that truly recognized and nurtured talent at all levels. Determined to make a change, Mike called an emergency meeting with his board and senior management team. He entered the boardroom as Mike Thompson, the CEO, with a clear and focused purpose. The team looked at him with a mix of surprise and curiosity, unaware of the full extent of what Mike had discovered. "Thank you all for coming on short notice," Mike began, his tone serious. "I want to address some serious issues that have come to light over the past week. I've been undercover within the company, and what I've seen has been both eye-opening and concerning." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to sink in. The senior managers exchanged uneasy glances. "Our company is facing a crisis. Employee satisfaction has dropped by 15%, and I found that our culture is not what we intended. There's widespread favoritism and a lack of recognition for hard work and talent." Linda, one of the managers Mike had observed closely, shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Mike noted her discomfort, but remained focused on his message. "We need to address these issues head-on. I've seen extraordinary dedication from employees like Angela and Henry, who are not receiving the recognition they deserve. Our current system is failing them, and it's failing the company. Mike's words were met with a mix of defensive responses and silence. Some managers tried to justify their actions, while others looked genuinely concerned. Mike knew that change would not come easily, but he was determined to see it through. The first step was to create a more transparent and fair system for promotions and recognition. He proposed a new framework where employee performance and contributions would be evaluated based on merit, not social connections. He also introduced regular feedback mechanisms to ensure that all employees had a voice and could report any issues they encountered. As Mike sat in his office reflecting on the necessary changes, an unexpected knock on his door jolted him from his thoughts. It was Linda. "Mr. Thompson," she began, her voice trembling. "There's something I need to confess. It's about the recent complaints and the toxic culture." Mike's heart raced. He had expected resistance, but not this level of fear. "Go on," he said, trying to maintain his composure. Linda took a deep breath. "We've been manipulated. There's something you need to know about the complaints and the drop in employee satisfaction. It wasn't just internal issues. There's someone working against us. Someone has been feeding misinformation and stirring up trouble from the outside." Before Mike could respond, Linda's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, her face going pale. "Oh no," she announced. "It's happening again." She handed Mike her phone, showing him a video feed from a hidden security camera in the general office. The footage was disturbing. An unidentified figure in a black hoodie and mask was in the office, going to each employee's desk and threatening them, using their personal secrets to manipulate them. The figure seemed eerily familiar. "Who is that?" Mike asked, confused. Linda shook her head. "I don't know, but they've been making people act badly. They've been threatening employees with their personal secrets, forcing them to mess things up or face exposure." Mike's mind raced. If Linda was right, then the problems at Tech Vision weren't just from internal issues. Someone was sabotaging the company from the outside. As Mike tried to understand this new information, another knock came at the door. A tall man in a suit entered, carrying a briefcase. Mike recognized him immediately. It was Oliver Grant, a well-known investigator who handled major fraud cases. "I'm here because I got an anonymous tip," Oliver said firmly. "I believe someone is sabotaging your company. The person behind this has detailed knowledge of your operations and is using that to cause chaos." Oliver's words deepened the mystery. Mike remembered recent company decisions and felt like he was starting to see a pattern. But who had the motive and means to pull off such a scheme? Oliver opened a file and showed Mike the evidence. "We traced the sabotage to a former employee who was let go under suspicious circumstances last year. They've been holding a grudge and using their knowledge to disrupt your company." Mike felt a chill. The former employee was a senior analyst who had access to sensitive data and knew Tech Vision inside out. "We also found out about a network of accomplices," Oliver continued. "They've been using personal secrets to control and manipulate employees. It's all part of a plan to damage your leadership and ruin the company's reputation." Mike realized that the problems at Tech Vision were much bigger than he first thought. The company was being attacked in a way that made it look like the leadership was failing, but the real trouble was hidden. Mike, along with Oliver, started looking into what was really going on. They found more proof that a former employee was causing all the problems and had others helping them. It turned out that the person behind the sabotage was someone Mike had trusted a lot. This former executive had been causing trouble to get back at Mike and try to take over the company. This discovery led to serious fights and legal issues. To fix everything, Mike took strong action. Some employees, like Linda, had been causing trouble and hiding the problems. They had treated their co-workers badly and kept quiet about the sabotage that was hurting the company. Mike first dealt with Linda and the others involved. He called them in for meetings and showed them proof of their bad actions. Linda was told she was being punished for being mean and for hiding what was happening. Mike made sure they knew that this kind of behavior was unacceptable. Linda and the others faced serious consequences. They were suspended for a while and had to take special training on how to behave properly at work. They also had to apologize to their teams for the trouble they caused. Mike wanted to make sure everyone understood that there were big consequences for breaking the rules and not being honest. On the other hand, Mike wanted to reward the employees who had been honest and hardworking. Angela and Henry were two people who stood out. Angela had worked hard and stayed late, so she received promotion and a raise. This new position recognized her dedication and the sacrifices she had made. Henry, who had been very helpful and positive, was given a new job where he could lead the IT team. He also received a salary increase and more say in important decisions. Mike wanted to ensure Henry's skills and positive attitude were properly valued. To help prevent problems like this in future, Mike introduced new rules for everyone at TechVision. These new rules included regular meetings where employees could give feedback, better ways to report problems, and more recognition for hard work. Mike wanted to be more active and visible. He aimed to make the workplace a fair and supportive place where everyone felt valued and encouraged. That be why making these changes, Mike hoped to fix the problems and make TechVision a better place to work. He wanted to rebuild trust and ensure that everyone had a chance to succeed and be happy at work. Mike was committed to leading the company with honesty and fairness, so everyone could work together in a positive environment. As Mike looked out at the city skyline, he felt the weight of the past few days lift. The crisis had tested him in ways he hadn't expected, but had strengthened his commitment to lead TechVision with new focus and a deeper understanding of the threats within his organization. With renewed determination, he was ready to transform his company into a place where every employee felt valued and empowered, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated.